Hey guys, Thx here, and coming at you with the Oval and SX edition of the track voting, preseason track voting. And we're going to kick it off with the Ovals. We're on BARVO Speedway right here. Did I just say Speedway? Oh man, I'm turning Asian. Oh, racist joke. Alright, anyways. BARVO Speedway right here. Wow, that was a great, literally 20 seconds in. I've already made fun of minorities. Anyways, so if you didn't catch the video from yesterday, for ovals the voting is just for Champ Series because we need 6 ovals and we have exactly 6 ovals, so we're just gonna throw them all into the season, and the voting is specifically going to be for which oval is going to be the Champ Series oval. So for the oval, just vote for whichever one you like the most, essentially, or vote for whichever one that you think is most deserving of being the Champ Series track or most competitive. Think along those criteria for the ovals. Although for the SX, that's different. We'll get to that in a little bit. But anyways, as I talked about a little bit yesterday, I did a little bit of like preseason sort of updates and stuff like that, and I was talking about the polls, and I gave an update of poll results yesterday. I'm going to give an update of poll results today because I posted 2 new polls, both pertaining to bonus points yesterday, and those actually got a lot of responses. One of them got 10 votes, so that's pretty impressive. I'm really glad about that. I'm really glad that everybody's been participating, or a lot of people have been participating in these polls. Really appreciate that, and I will have 1 to 2 more polls coming out today. So if you haven't checked the Discord, they're probably out when you're listening to this, so go check the Discord, go vote in those polls, because I only check the results like the day after, so you gotta vote in them really quick if you want your vote to mean anything. But anyways, the polls that we did yesterday were, well, let's go through the first one. So the first one was, should you get bonus points for? And then after that I put race win and heat win as 1 and 2. So should you get bonus points for 1 race wins or 2 heat wins? And then the options were 1 and 2, just 1, just 2, and neither. Now nobody voted, this is very interesting, nobody voted neither on this poll. So everybody that voted on this poll believed that you should get bonus points at least for either the race win or the heat win. Now the majority of people voted in favor, and this does not surprise me, of 1 and 2. So the majority of people voted in favor of getting bonus points for race wins and heat wins, which does not surprise me. I definitely agree with them on that. So that's a bit of a change from last season. Last season we just did heat wins. Now we'll add in an extra point for the race win. 1 person voted for just 1 and 1 person voted for just 2. So definitely going to go with 1 and 2. So that's a little bit of a change going into next season's format. I'm actually excited for that one. Definitely really excited for that one. I think the extra race win point is going to be interesting. Also, pertaining to wins, the poll for today, or the polls, will be pertaining to overalls and how overalls work. And we're going to be sort of reforming, or possibly reforming, the way overalls function. And then the polls tomorrow will be related to that because they'll be about overalls and wins and points and how all those contribute to the wildcard slots for Champ Series and just Champ Series qualifying in general. So make sure you guys check out the polls. These next 2 polls for these 2 days are actually both very, very, very important. So I would definitely check out those polls because overall wins and Champ Series qualifications, those have some big implications, especially for drivers that are like on the bubble of making the Champ Series. So definitely make sure you get your 2 cents in there and get your vote. But before I go over the results of the next poll, I'm waiting here for it to switch to Supercross so I can explain that. So there was Saluna Stadium, new track by Opix, by the way, pretty cool track. But here we go to Supercross. So Supercross, I believe we have 12 possible options for Supercross, and here's how it's going to work. So Supercross has the most freedom, the most choice out of all of the categories for you guys in terms of voting. There's 12 SX tracks, and there is 4 votes. 4 votes allowed. So for Oval, it was just 1 vote because you're just voting for Champ Series. For SX, 4 votes allowed. So that also means that SX should, in theory, be the easiest because you get the most amount of votes and you eliminate the least. In GP, you were eliminating 14 off the list. In SX, you're only eliminating 8. So I think SX will be the easiest to vote for, although I still think it'll be difficult. I've already gotten a lot of messages from people about the GP voting, telling me how difficult they thought it was because there's a lot of tracks in that pool. And all I have to say is, yeah, guys, I totally agree. Not an easy vote, but thank you for participating in that vote because I get that it was difficult to come to the conclusion, but I really appreciate that you guys are participating in it. And we're definitely sticking, I think, with these track votes, these off-season track votes for the future. 1, because I think it's fun. 2, because I think it's fair. And 3, because I think it's interesting. It's very interesting to see the way these votes pan out and the fact that there's still some uncertainty. Like, we've had around half, maybe a little over half of the people that are eligible to vote so far. And even then, I'm really not sure what tracks are going to get in. Road Atlantis seems to be a shoo-in so far, so that's a little update from yesterday. Road Atlantis seems to be a shoo-in, so expect that to make it, at least at the moment. Who knows? Maybe some underdogs could come back and overtake Atlantis, although I doubt that, because Atlantis last season and this season too seems to be kind of a fan favorite, which I'm really proud of, because that was a huge group project. It was my layout, it was Slaunch with random cheese on the track, and a couple other people, Blades with track testing, and I know Juns helped with aesthetics a little bit, and I think there might have been some other people in there too. Sorry if I don't remember, but seriously, shout out to everybody that helped me with Road Atlantis, because that was a true team effort. I just came up with the layout and was like, hey guys, help me make this, and then we just all went on ham on it and created one of the coolest tracks. I think one of the most well-liked, like, fan favorite tracks. So definitely want to do, over the course of this next season, for Season 5, I want to do some more group forges on all types of tracks. I think that those create the best types of tracks. So now that I'm done with that tangent, let's get on to that other poll result. So the other poll result was, let me get it up here. Okay, so should you get bonus points for number 1, lead lap, number 2, most laps led? So just what that's asking is, should people get bonus points for a singular lead lap and then leading the most? That's, I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. That's literally what it is. So the options were 1 and 2, just 1, just 2, and neither. Now, the unequivocal winner for this poll at the moment seems to be, and this was the one that got 10 votes, by the way, so people seem pretty passionate about this one for some reason. The unequivocal winner at the moment was, well, at the moment, I'm not going to look at it past this point, but it was neither. So neither won this poll, 6 votes, 60% of the vote. Second place was just 2, so just most laps led that you would get bonus points for. So I found that interesting, actually, that came in second, that people thought that you should get bonus points for just most laps led, but not just for leading the lap. That's an interesting perspective. I can definitely see where they're coming from with that, and perhaps in the podcast maybe we'll get some people that share that viewpoint and maybe get some explanation on it, because I think it's interesting. Although personally I agree with the majority. I would have voted neither, but I would have voted neither, but that's actually different from my perspective. That's because I would be the one counting the laps led and keeping track of that stuff, so that's why I would have voted neither, because it's a lot more work for me. Even though it's a cool stat, it's a very cool stat to have, it would have been a lot more work for me. So my perspective doesn't really matter on this. Anyways, other results. Just 1 and also 1 and 2 both got 1 vote for each of those. I'm actually surprised at that. I thought just 1 would have been pretty close and competitive with neither. 1 and 2 being the least doesn't surprise me, but just 1 I thought would have done better. That actually really shocked me. Was definitely not expecting that, although I guess I can see why people don't. It seems that people want in the HRL, the majority of people. Oh wait, hold on a second. We're on London. I have to mention this right here. So London, this is London AX, and I threw a couple laps of this track in the video for 2 reasons. First reason, we recorded a lot of frickin' footage on here, and I wanted to use it. Second reason, that track is the 1 lock-in. GP had 2 lock-ins, which were Eagle River and Mirabilis. SX has 1 lock-in this season. That's why SX has 4 votes, because it has 1 lock-in, and that 1 lock-in is London. The reason why I made London the lock-in is because, for one, SX tracks last season seem to be mixed reception on a lot of them, which is usually, I'm not gonna lie, that's usually how it is with SX. It's usually not like GP, where Eagle River is like a traditional, you know, always raced in HRL, or Chili Cove's a traditional, always raced in HRL, or what's the other one? Mirabilis, you know, traditional, and a lot of people tend to like the competitiveness on that track. You know, with SX, that usually tends to not happen as much. I think SX tracks usually have more variety in people's viewpoints on SX tracks. It's very hard to have a Supercross track that is universally. I almost said university. Did my AP psychology exam. Maybe I had that on my mind. But anyways, it's harder to find a Supercross track that's universally well liked. Very difficult. So that's why I tried to just to have a fresh slate and free it up as much as possible for Supercross for next season. Just because of the fact that there's so many wide viewpoints, I figured that even though there's some tracks in my mind where it's like, yeah, I can see this being a majority, I threw in the vote just to be sure and just to give people that chance, and also to expose them to some of these other tracks, because we even could possibly have some terrain tracks, like here we're on Victoria Field. You saw Carpinteria Beach before this. There's actually a lot of terrain Supercross tracks as possible tracks in the next season, and perhaps for the wild card vote, I'll have to talk to Kat. Perhaps for the wild card vote, we'll even have to throw Kat's dirt Supercross in there, because we raced it a little bit and it was pretty good. But I never got a submission from him for the regular season, so I'll talk to him about the wild card, see if he wants to submit that, and see how people feel about these dirt Supercross tracks, because some of them actually flow pretty well, and I guess they will sound their opinion with their vote, and we'll see if any of these dirt Supercrosses get voted in, which I feel like at least one of them has to, because there's so many in the selection. I feel like at least one of them will get in. But anyways, yeah, Supercross, I just wanted to clean the slate and offer as much variety as possible, so that's what I try to do for you guys. And again, just reminding you one more time, 4 votes. 4 votes. Please send them to me on Discord, or you can message me on Xbox or comment on YouTube. I definitely prefer Discord the most out of all of those, but if you need to utilize any of the other modes of communicating with me, that's fine. I don't really mind. Doesn't bother me, as long as I get the vote. But yeah, Supercross, I think this is going to be interesting. Also, I forgot to explain, I wanted to get this out of the way real quick. I tried to say it earlier, but then I went off on that tangent. The reason why London is the only lock-in is because, like I was saying, it's very hard to find a Supercross that's like universally well-liked. But we did a test session on London, and everyone seemed to really enjoy London. That one seemed to get pretty good, unequivocal, like solid, like unanimous reception from everybody in terms of like liking it. They were all pretty impressed with the track and wanted to see it in the season. So I decided to make that the one lock-in. Was London. Everything else, I was like, okay, I'm cleaning the slate for everything else, but London I'm gonna lock in because everybody in that test session seemed to enjoy it. So that's why I did that. And I'm really excited to see how this Supercross vote goes because of how close the GP vote is. In fact, I'll give a little update for that right now. And this is, there's still, how many people have voted? 6, 9. 9 have voted so far, so plenty to vote. Vote could still shift immensely. But right now, the winner of the GP vote is Road Atlantis with 5. It's in the lead. And then the other 2 tracks you would see in the season right now are Ogagia. It's actually a tie, so we wouldn't know right now. But it's tied between Ogagia, Dublin, and Altaterra, all with 3 votes. And then there's also a few tracks close behind. Belfast has 2 votes. Cape Cod has 2 votes. Laddergoat has 2 votes. So those tracks are also possibilities. On top of that, Magna Tempest has 1 vote. Schwarzwälder has 1 vote. Cicero has 1 vote, Mount Haven has 1 vote, Special Stage, Route 5 has 1 vote, Circuit d'Ang has 1 vote, and Josephine Alps also has 1 vote. Are there any GP tracks without votes? Yes. Noxurbai does not have a vote yet, Multis Modus does not have a vote yet, Laguna Seca does not have a vote yet, and that's it. So most of them have votes. I hope we see the same thing go for Oval Championship Series voting and for SX regular season voting, where it's very close and where there's a lot of variety. I would definitely like to see that persist through the rest of the votes, because I think it's really cool looking at the SX vote, how much variety we have. I wasn't, or the GP vote, how much variety we have. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. Also, the track round right here. Oh, I'm glad I'm going to say this now. Sorry it's at the very end of the video, but I'm glad I'm going to say this now. Please don't take aesthetics into account when you're voting for any of these tracks, Supercross, Oval, or GP, because a lot of these tracks, as you've seen so far, have been pretty bare bones, and that's because I'm waiting, like this is my track, I'm waiting to see if people voted in, and then if they voted in, then I'm going to finish the aesthetics. So please do not take, and this goes for other people's tracks too, because for example in GP there's Turkey's track, Dublin, and Dublin doesn't have aesthetics done, but the track layout is done and it flows pretty well, and I included it in the vote. So don't worry about aesthetics, guys. Do not worry about aesthetics, just vote based on the track layout. Remember that aesthetics will be finished before the race, after these tracks are voted in. So just keep that in mind, because I worked really hard on the Supercross, and I know Turkey worked really hard on Dublin, and like for example Saluna, I'm not sure if that's completely done, Opix's track in the Oval, and I don't want aesthetics to factor into Slaunch worked really hard on this track, East Bay, but he doesn't have aesthetics completely done here. So I don't want that to become a big factor in people's votes. Remember, just focus on the layout. We'll finish the aesthetics later. So here we go, final track, guys. I messed up the ordering again in my record order. That's why this, you know, SX number 6 is last. So sorry about that. Yeah, here's East Bay. Very interesting track here out of Slaunch, and I gotta say, I don't want to sway the vote, but I'm gonna be curious to see how this goes if it is included in the season, because, well, 1, I think it would be a really good Champ Series track, and 2, this track is just perplexing. It's very interesting because it has an actual like flow on it. I think this and my track as well, Salt Lake, have both gone for a type of intermediate style. Like the SXs we made last season were a lot of like beginner SXs or easy mode SXs, where they were mainly just for competitiveness, but there wasn't too many places to gain time and too many alternate lines. This is different. This track has a lot of throttle control and a lot of places to gain time, and I think that will make it very competitive and more of an intermediate type SX. And also the wheelie is awesome. So hope you guys enjoyed this video with the season update. Get your votes in. See you next time.